The following program is produced by Project Bait and does not reflect the views of this station.
This is Mark Wells with another Wells Report for My People. Well, after 3 years in the making, the 2010 U.S. Social Forum has come and gone. Between June 22nd and June 26th, an estimated 10 to 15,000 activists from across the country and around the world converged on downtown Detroit to rally, organize, and dialogue about how to build a better, more just United States, which many feel is vital to the construction of a better world. The previous and initial U.S. Social Forum happened in Atlanta, Georgia in 2007 with the slogan, "Another world is possible, but another U.S. is necessary." The slogan and idea for the U.S. Social Forum emerged from the original World Social Forums that have been happening since 2001, when the first World Social Forum took place in the city of Porto Alegre, a city located in southern Brazil. As a matter of fact, the first 3 World Social Forums took place in Porto Alegre, Brazil, before moving to India in 2004 and returning to Brazil in 2005. Since then, World Social Forums have been held in Venezuela, Mali, Pakistan, Kenya, and then back to Brazil in 2009. The World Social Forum annually attracts thousands of the world's most prominent social activists, with participating attendees usually numbering between 50 to 150,000. So what is the purpose of these forums? The idea was to bring together diverse voices from around the world to discuss how to provoke change and bring justice to a world that seems to be becoming more and more unjust by the day. The forums usually last a little less than a week and feature a series of workshops dealing with a wide range of social issues that people are most concerned about. Past World Social Forums have attracted the likes of intellectuals like Noam Chomsky, Presidents Lula da Silva and Hugo Chavez of Brazil and Venezuela respectively, British Pakistani historian Tariq Ali, Uruguayan novelist Eduardo Galeano, Filipino political analyst Walden Bello, and Indian writer and activist Arundhati Roy, just to name a few. During these forums, issues like human rights, job justice, racism, police brutality, women's rights, gay rights, debt relief, war, and Arizona's immigration law are but a small sample of all the topics discussed during hundreds of workshops that feature experts and activists who share their opinions about the effects of these issues on the human population, as well as how to best address these problems. For many, these forums offer a people's response to the structure of the global capitalist system, and organizations such as the World Bank, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, and the G20 Summit. The overall objective of these forums is to devise mechanisms in which to reinvent democracy and radically transform existing class, gender, and race-based structures of power, which inhibit the true meaning and practice of democracy. As the United States is seen as the global leader and an all-encompassing force that dominates the economic and political fortunes or misfortunes of nations throughout the world, activists understand that in order for the world to change, the U.S. must also change, which led to the first U.S. Social Forum in Atlanta in 2007. The U.S. Social Forum in Atlanta attracted an estimated 15,000 attendees with the goal of organizing a mass movement to bring about the end of what activists feel are harmful U.S. actions and policies that are detrimental to its own citizens as well as the rest of the world. And because of the poverty, nation-leading unemployment rates, deteriorating schools and foreclosures, Detroit was perhaps the best and most symbolic choice of location for the 2010 U.S. Social Forum. As the forces of deindustrialization have led to crime, mass unemployment, and exodus from the city, Detroit, once being one of the main engines that powered the U.S. economy, is now the poster child for the necessity of change. Starting on June 22nd, activists from across the country and the world took to Woodward Avenue and marched to Cobo Hall in downtown Detroit to officially kick off 5 days of social activism, demonstrations, discussions, and protests. During the week, approximately 1,000 workshops addressed topics that ran the gamut of society's ills, from Islamophobia to sex workers' rights, climate policy to hip-hop activism, and prison justice to economic justice and inequality. If discussions about the key issues of the day are your passion, the U.S. Social Forum would have been a dream come true. Throughout the week, vendors and activists promoted their causes, sold products that advertised their causes, and freely expressed their opinions about what brought them to Detroit this year.
The message we're bringing to people is the world does not have to be this way. This is not the best of all possible worlds. We have what we need.
I came here because Detroit pulls together a lot of stuff that people all across the country are facing.
In our organization, people of color work on how they have been affected by racism, African American, Asians, and
we're here at the U.S. Social Forum because Guam is a U.S. colony in the Pacific.
Participating in demonstrations, anti-war demonstrations, anti-bailout demonstrations.
Besides the two wars that the U.S. is currently involved in, activists continue to highlight the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the situation in Haiti, opposition to the execution of Troy Davis, and police murders of Sean Bell and Oscar Grant. Still heavy on the minds of Detroiters as well as activists from out of town was the May 16th police murder of 7-year-old Detroit girl Aiyana Jones. The sympathy, outrage, and support concerning the Aiyana Jones case was on display throughout the forum in the form of various banners and posters, and culminated with a march for Aiyana led by former People's own Ron Scott and the Reverend Omar Wilkes of the Unison Pentecostal Church in Brooklyn, New York on the last day of the forum.
We need to stand together all over this country, all over this world. Aiyana Jones was all of our children.
The march took activists who were from New York, Chicago, Detroit, Gary, Indiana, and other cities from Grand Circus Park to the Coleman Young Municipal Building, where people emotionally expressed their feelings about Aiyana and other victims of police brutality.
Aiyana Jones was the spark that people finally brought out the outcry of all the years of violence that we have had in our community.
So while the forum ended on an emotional and inspirational note, only the future will tell if these forums will ultimately lead to the change that the world seeks. And if this change is coming, or should it come to fruition, don't expect the mainstream media to cover it, as the scant media coverage of this year's forum proved. But speaking of change, always remember, the 1971 words of the visionary poet Gil Scott-Heron still and will always remain true. The revolution will not be televised. This is Mark Wells, and this has been another Wells Report for My People.
Little Rock Baptist Church is the going church for the coming Christ. You want to find out more about services which are held every Sunday at 11 a.m.? Call 313-872-2900.
There are 3 basic necessities every business needs: a business plan, a bookkeeper, and a website. Call Project BAIT for all 3. Call 313-871-3333. That's 313-871-3333.
Hello, my name's Gary Roquemore. I've worked with Project BAIT for many years. We're having our 40th year reunion for Project BAIT. If you're interested in joining us, please call us at 313-871-3333. Again, that number is 313-871-3333.
The preceding program was produced by Project BAIT and does not reflect the views of this station.